225th day of Ukrainian resistance. Ukraine Media Center Ukrinform works. My name is Vasil Simakhvalov, and we are starting our next briefing. We are starting a conversation with Volodymyr Matsokin, Deputy Mayor of Izyum. Volodymyr, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Volodymyr, what has changed in town after the occupation, after it has been liberated from the Russians? What is the situation as of now? The situation as of now, well, good afternoon to everyone present here. As of today, I would probably mention the tendency. In general, the circumstances are quickly changing. The circumstances as of the occupation are different. Now, our population today, our citizens, have received humanitarian aid. They have received food supplies. Today, we systematically distribute them. There is enough humanitarian aid. The humanitarian aid is different through all the donors, through volunteers, and everybody else, and we're grateful to them. Now we started receiving construction materials, and we are distributing them between citizens so that people could restore their roofs, repair their windows, and in general, this is our preparation for the winter. 2 days ago, stable mobile connection and internet came to Izyum. It is possible to use the messengers now. We can quickly exchange information. This is a normal tendency, a good tendency on the situation with the utility services. As of today, the works on restoring electricity supplies in the community are being done. We are waiting by the end of this week to have electricity supply everywhere or early next week, because the works are complicated by various factors. The posts are mined a lot, and the networks, electricity networks, are mined. We receive these reports all the time. Also, work on restoring supply of gas to the community is being done. If there is electricity, we will also have water supply and sewage in town. This is the situation in town as of today. I apologize for using this high language, but the emergency services are heroic today. The demining is very active. They have removed a lot of debris. There is a lot of work remaining, but there is movement and progress each and every day. And out of my personal impressions, today we can walk in the city and see that the people are sitting in the park freely. They're smiling to each other. It makes me very happy that normal life, maybe with small steps, but it is coming back to our community. About the people, how has the population changed after the occupation? Have the people changed, you mean? No, are people coming back to the city? I hear you well today. First of all, I would like to say that we, as the authorities, are happy that our company owners are coming back to Izyum. They are planning how to restore their work to provide services to population. And our citizens are also coming back, but I would divide them into two categories. The first one being those who come back to take a look at their property and then decide whether they can continue living there or they need, let's say, to conserve their houses till spring. And there are also those who come back and go back to their life in the community and are planning to spend the winter in the community. In many cases, this depends, very much depends on whether there's gas supply and electricity supply to their homes. I would also like to say that today we are offering people to evacuate. Those people who want to get out, primarily families with children, people with disabilities, elderly people. We understand we have a question here. Please. Irina Mamchur, Ukrinform. Could you clarify the situation on debts, on salaries to teachers of Izyum? Why did this situation happen? Is the information that we hear and see on social networks objective, that the debt is for many months? How is this issue being solved? Is it being solved? We wanted to solve this. Thank you for this question. We wanted to solve this before the Teachers' Day, but we didn't manage to do it. All of the payments, all of the debts to our education workers were paid the next day after the Teachers' Day. Now there is no debt anymore. And why this debt happened, I'll explain you now. There is a certain procedure that works during the martial law. When the corresponding documents for payments, we are supplying them in time, but they're being checked additionally in the military administration on whether they correspond. And only after that, the Treasury receives them. This is the procedure. This procedure works for all communities, as far as I know, in Kharkiv Oblast. So this resulted in a debt, but thank God we have paid these debts to teachers by now. And another question, if I may. You mentioned evacuation from Izyum, that you are evacuating all the people who want to get out. Could you please tell us how many people are willing to evacuate from Izyum now, and whether they are being evacuated outside Kharkiv Oblast or somewhere else in Kharkiv Oblast? I will explain you now that here we cooperate very closely with Kharkiv Oblast military administration that provides transportation for evacuating people. And the way we do it is the following. People come to the executive committee and they write an application. They fill out an application form for evacuation. When they come to Kharkiv, they are offered to live in the city of Kharkiv in dormitories. This is what I heard is being offered to people. And they're also being offered to move outside Kharkiv Oblast. On whether this evacuation is popular, I would like to say that as of now, there haven't been great numbers of people willing to evacuate. I know that last week, about 15 applications were written to evacuate. We should here pay attention to the fact that we do have problems with communications. There is no stable connection. We spread the information through the heads of street committees and those who are responsible for distributing humanitarian aid. But, you know, I think that this issue is rather that people are waiting. People in apartment buildings, they don't live there anymore. All of them moved to private houses, one-storied houses, and they live there, 1-2 families together, and they are waiting for the issues with gas and electricity to be solved, because this will impact their decision on evacuation. I have another question. Coming back to the educational process, how are the schools working? On September 1st, when the Russians moved in their teachers, their textbooks, some children, they started their educational process in the Russian school, so to say, and now this process needs to be relaunched. What is the situation in Izyum now? You know, Russians in our community were so incapable that they mostly produced fake news in their educational process. They didn't do anything. They wrote that they will open the schools they said that they were unfortunately re-educating some of our teachers in Kursk, but the Russian educational process in our community has never started. On the contrary, we, starting from September 1st, using the educational platforms that we placed in Kharkiv, we started providing educational services. And by the way, in Kharkiv Oblast, education is only online, and September 1st, as it should be, we started 2 schools, 2 lyceums online, number 1 and number 2. They're working now. All of the educational programs regulated by the Ministry of Education and Science of Ukraine are being fulfilled, and the problem we have now is with the children who stayed here in the community in Izyum, because there was no opportunity to organize education here for 2 reasons. First, lack of electricity supply, and second, lack of stable internet connection. And here now we're solving this issue. We have connection now. We need electricity. And one of the platforms for online education, we will be able to put it in the city. We have the teachers and the heads of educational facilities are also in town. They're ready to start working. So even under these difficult circumstances, the educational process in the community, even under the circumstances of occupation, it was being carried out according to the requirements of the law. We have another question. Yes, the question is on Kamyanka village that is included into the territorial community. All of us remember how much this village was destroyed by the Russians. But there is also information from people who moved out of the village earlier, who evacuated, that there were still people living in the village. And later, when this village was liberated, deoccupied by the Ukrainian army, no people were found there. Do we know anything about the fate of those people? Is there any information on the number of people who died from this village, from Kamyanka in general? Yes, I will give you the following answer. Thank you for your question. What comes to infrastructure, buildings, it was a modern village. It had culture houses. The culture house there was better than in the Izyum city. And the lyceum, this village was organized at the very high level. The local self-government there was quite strong, but it does not exist anymore when it comes to buildings and infrastructure. According to what we know, as of today, 10 people, 10 members of our community still live in the city. They receive humanitarian aid. They were also, of course, offered, as we have offered all the members of the community, to evacuate. And today, the professionals of the emergency services, I will repeat, but they are real heroes. They are working in Kamyanka village as well. They're removing the debris. And unfortunately, yesterday in one of the basements, they found the victims of this war. They found the body of a woman. So the number of victims. And the village does not exist anymore. It's wiped off the face of the earth. So the work that the emergency services are doing there is removing the debris. And this work is continued, and we are still counting the number of victims in this wonderful Kamyanka village that is part of our territorial community. So, of course, my condolences to everybody who lost their lives in this village, because Izyum was hit a lot, but Kamyanka was hit even more by the Russian shelling. Thank you very much. We had Volodymyr Matsokin, Deputy Mayor of Izyum, with us today. He spoke about the situation in the city after the occupation. We will continue our work tomorrow. See you.